WOCA.
WOCA.
Come on, come on, come on.
All right, 24 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Labor Day morning. It is time for Robin and I to read the news to you. We abbreviate the news, and we call this segment NewsBites because it's bite-sized news. You can actually look up the stories and read the entire story for yourself online at the news agency that we tell you we're reading it from, although most of these stories are covered by more than one agency. All right, the first story actually comes from the Associated Press. Aid began to flow to a small northern Shiite town this morning, a day after Iraqi security forces and Shiite militias broke a 2-month siege by Sunni militants there. Ali al-Bayadi, who heads the local NGO, the Turkmen Saving Foundation, said that 4 trucks loaded with food, medicine, and fruit had entered the town of Amerli. The aid was sent by the Iraqi government and the Iraqi Red Crescent, he said, adding that soldiers had begun bringing food to families in their houses last night. The situation is getting back to normal, but gradually, al-Bayadi told the Associated Press, some people have come out from their houses and walked in the streets. Shops are still closed, but people are happy to see their city secured by Iraqi security forces. Since early this year, Iraq has faced a growing Sunni insurgency led by an al-Qaeda breakaway group. The Islamic State, also known as ISIS, and allied militants have taken over territory in the country's north and west. The crisis in Iraq's worst since the 2011 withdrawal of U.S. troops.
Fearing a Russian invasion and occupation of Alaska, the U.S. government in the early Cold War years recruited and trained fishermen, bush pilots, trappers, and other private citizens across Alaska for a covert network to feed wartime intelligence to the military. Newly declassified Air Force and FBI documents show. It did seem possible at that town that Alaska would be invaded, and that was in 1950. The military believes that it would be an airborne invasion involving bombing and one dropping of paratroopers. This is according to one FBI memo. The most likely targets were thought to be Nome, Fairbanks, Anchorage, and Seward, reported by Fox News.
And here's this one is from the Chronicle. I'm not really sure what this is. I think this is an AP story. Yes, it is. Thousands of Israeli children in areas near the Gaza Strip went back to school this morning after spending the summer in bomb shelters as rockets and mortars rained on their communities during the 50-day Israel-Hamas war, while schools in Gaza remained shuttered as the territory recovered from the fighting. The start of school brought a sense of joy and excitement to rocket-scarred communities in southern Israel, but the signs of the fighting remained fresh in the southern city of Ashdod. Employees at the Pashash kindergarten, which was struck by a rocket, removed shrapnel marks off the walls and slides ahead of the students' arrival. We are a little scared, but we are excited, said Ronit Bart, a resident of Kibbutz Saad and an English teacher in its school. A lot of children in our area really need to go back to a routine. Her 11-year-old daughter, Shani Bart, said it felt a little bit weird to suddenly be going back to school.
2 new Florida state laws take effect today, including one that will save motorists some money. A rollback in vehicle registration fees was among $500 million in tax and fee reductions that was approved earlier this year by the Florida legislature and signed into law by Governor Rick Scott. Depending on the size of their vehicle, Florida motorists are expected to save $17 to $25 a year. The other new law is the Keeping ID Safe or KIDS Act. Supported by Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam, it is designed to keep people from stealing the identities of children. The KIDS Act would allow parents or guardians to open a file in their child's name with a major consumer credit bureau and then immediately put a freeze on the account, reported by the Florida News Network.
And the next story is from Newsmax. President Barack Obama's mistakes enabled the rise of the Islamic State, also known as ISIS, and created the immigration crisis at the country's southern border. His 2012 opponent, Mitt Romney, said yesterday in a roundtable radio discussion hosted by John Katzimadis, mistakes were made, and now we have ISIS, Romney told the host on the Katz Round Table on New York City radio station WNYM-AM. Romney argued that ISIS would not be gaining power if the United States had followed his plan back in 2012 for dealing with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. If you go back a few years when Syria fell into revolution and tumult, when rebels were pushing against Assad, I laid out what I thought was a prudent course for us to see stability in Syria, he said. Had we followed that course, there's a good chance you would not see an ISIS today, unquote. He said his plan would have done more to back revolutionaries in Syria while ensuring Assad's own tribe, the Alawites, that their future was secure even without him in power.
Comedian Kathy Griffin took the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge naked. The video, strategically blurred, was shown during her visit on the Jimmy Kimmel Live program on Friday. In case you have somehow missed all the Ice Bucket Challenge videos over the last few weeks, the viral campaign calls for people to pour ice water over their heads to raise awareness for ALS. Thanks to the Ice Bucket Challenge, the ALS Association has raised over $100 million in August alone, a 3,500% increase from the same time period last year. At first, just regular people took part in the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, but it was not long before celebrities got involved. Stars like Matt Damon, Charlie Sheen, and even Homer Simpson have done their own unique versions of the challenge. So it was inevitable Kathy Griffin would get challenged by one of her celebrity friends.
From the Associated Press, a federal judge has temporarily blocked Louisiana from enforcing its restrictive new abortion law, but lawyers and advocates appeared to disagree about whether the judge's order affects doctors at all 5 abortion clinics in the state or only those at 3 clinics whose lawsuit challenges the measure. U.S. District Judge John DeGravels wrote that authorities cannot enforce the law until he holds a hearing on whether an order to block it is needed while the case remains in court. The law requires doctors who perform abortions to have admitting privileges to a hospital within 30 miles of their clinics. The lawsuit claims doctors have not had enough time to obtain the privileges, and the law likely would close all 5 clinics.
The president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, told a Chinese TV interviewer that he resents Western international aid because it always depends on conditions such as accepting homosexuality. Ahead of his return to Harare from a visit to China, Mr. Mugabe, who is not known for his liberal attitudes towards Africa's gay and lesbian community, praised Beijing for being very constructive in its assistance towards Zimbabwe. His quote, "Whereas Europe and America, when they give little funding assistance to countries, they always attach conditions, and that is our objection, the conditions," reported by The Telegraph.
And from the Associated Press, a significant aftershock from last weekend's magnitude 6.0 earthquake has rattled Northern California's wine country again. The U.S. Geological Survey says the magnitude 3.2 tremor struck 5 miles south of the city of Napa, just before 2 a.m. yesterday. Thomas Brocher, director of the U.S. Geological Service's Earthquake Science Center, says it wasn't the strongest aftershock to rumble the region since the main quake a week ago caused as much as $1 billion in damage and multiple injuries. A magnitude 3.9 aftershock centered 8 miles south of Napa hit there early Tuesday morning. We have to take a little break. We've got to catch up on the weather report and a few commercials, and we'll be back with NewsBites after this break.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For this Labor Day holiday, we'll see intervals of clouds and sun, and there can be a thunderstorm around over the interior primarily during the late morning and afternoon hours, high 88 to 92. Partly cloudy tonight, low 71 to 75. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a hit-or-miss thunderstorm, high 88 to 92. For Wednesday, partly sunny with the best chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon, the high 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Each morning, we wake up thankful to live in a free nation with liberty and justice for all. But sometimes those liberties can be put in jeopardy, and you may have questions about what to do or who to call. Let Doc Blanchard of Blanchard, Miriam, Adele & Kirkland help you find the answers. Attorneys at law since 1974 and located in downtown Ocala. If you have legal issues, don't go it alone. Call 352-732-7218. Blanchard, Miriam, Adele & Kirkland, helping protect your liberties every day.
This is the Salvation Army, and I'm Major George Patterson to let you know that the Salvation Army is available 24 hours a day to provide help to anyone. We also have a family store at 120 Northwest 10th Street in Ocala. On Tuesday to Saturday from 9 to 4, you can do your shopping, or if you want to donate, you can call 352-732-4469, and we'll even pick up 352-732-4469. All funds generated by our store go into the programs here in Marion County to help the needy.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my
too.
seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new trunk.
We can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust-proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
It's time for fun, fellowship, and firearms. That's right, the 22nd annual Silver River Friends of the NRA Dinner is coming Thursday, September 4th, and you can get tickets to join us at the Marion County Ag Center by calling 352-239-0711. Help out ROTC, 4-H, and other charitable causes here in Marion County by joining us. Call 352-239-0711.
All right, thank you. 12 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Labor Day morning. This next story is from CNN. Carlos Enrique Londoño laughs at the Ku Klux Klan recruitment flyer recently left on the driveway of his suburban New York home. It's unlikely the group would accept him. He says, quote, "I'm Colombian and dark-skinned." He is a painter and construction worker who has lived in Hampton Bays on Long Island for 30 years. The flyer was tucked into a plastic bag along with a membership application, the address for the KKK National Office in North Carolina, a list of beliefs, and 3 Jolly Rancher candies.
The first death associated with Central Florida's new Sunrail trains occurred Thursday evening. A man was hit and killed by a train near the Sunrail station in Sanford at around 10 p.m. However, the Sanford police say the body was not discovered for 7 hours until a passing freight train conductor noticed it at around 5 a.m. Sunrail service was suspended for more than an hour as authorities investigated the scene. According to the Orlando Sentinel, Sunrail spokesman Steve Olson had little comment other than to say that we are cooperating with Sanford police. Police say the victim's name was not immediately released because they are still attempting to locate his relatives. The Sunrail commuter train service began in May, reported by the Florida News Network.
And this from the Wall Street Journal. The United States plans to hike the fees that it charges American citizens to give up their passports as the nation also tries to stem the tide of U.S. businesses moving headquarters overseas. The State Department has boosted the fee for renunciation of U.S. citizenship by 422% to $2,350. It was $450. The State Department claims the new fee is the actual cost of processing an application to lose citizenship. Demand for the service has increased dramatically, consuming far more consular offices' time and resources, according to a statement from Undersecretary of State Patrick Kennedy in an item written in the Global News. Documenting a U.S. citizen's renunciation of citizenship is extremely costly, requiring American consular officers overseas to spend substantial amounts of time to accept, process, and adjudicate cases, he wrote. The department believes there is no public benefit or other reason for setting this fee below cost, unquote. The wait time for an expatriation interview has increased to as much as 6 months in some areas, while it is as short as 2 to 4 weeks in others, according to a State Department spokesman in an item in the Wall Street Journal. He added that 3/4 of all renunciations are processed by consular offices in Canada, the United Kingdom, and Switzerland.
Pro-democracy campaigners have vowed to blockade Hong Kong's financial district and launch a major campaign of civil disobedience after Beijing rejected calls for an open election for the former colony's next leader. Hundreds of protesters gathered outside government headquarters yesterday evening after China unveiled its long-awaited framework for plans to introduce universal suffrage for the 2017 election of Hong Kong's chief executive. Under that framework, which opponents immediately rejected as fake democracy, each candidate would need approval from more than 50% of a broadly representative nominated committee before their names are put on a ballot, reported by The Telegraph.
And this from Newsmax. The Ice Bucket Challenge to raise support for ALS research has gone viral in recent weeks, drawing celebrities, everyday people, and even cartoon character Homer Simpson. But critics are now saying only a fraction of the money raised is actually going toward research. The ALS Association was founded in 1985 to find a cure for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. So far, almost $100 million has been raised through the Ice Bucket Challenge. But critics point to a pie chart on the ALS Association's own website that breaks down how it spends the money it receives. According to the chart, only 28% is spent on research. Other expenditures include 19% for patient and community services, 32% for public and professional education, 14% on fundraising, and 7% on administration. Neonettle.com notes that the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability, a Christian charity watchdog group founded by the Reverend Billy Graham, sets an 80% standard on their organization.
As Americans take a break this Labor Day, workers in many U.S. states and cities are looking forward to getting more money in their paychecks. Even as congressional proposals to raise the federal hourly minimum wage to $10.10 per hour stalled earlier this year, the push to boost pay for the nation's lowest paid workers continues to gain steam across the country. A growing number of state and local governments are responding to pressure from workers to raise the wage floor. So far, 13 states and 10 county and city governments have increased their minimum wages during 2013 and during 2014. In June, Seattle raised its minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2018, the highest in the country, more than twice the current $7.25 per hour federal minimum wage. Of the 10 states that raised their minimum wage this year, Connecticut, Maryland, Hawaii, Massachusetts, and Vermont set the floor at $10.10 an hour or more, reported by MSNBC.
And from the Reuters news agency, Israel announced yesterday a land appropriation in the occupied West Bank that an anti-settlement group termed the biggest in 30 years, drawing Palestinian condemnation and a U.S. rebuke. Some 400 hectares, which is 988 acres, in the Etzion Jewish settlement block near Bethlehem were declared state land on the instructions of the political echelon by the military-run civil administration. We urge the government of Israel to reverse this decision, is a statement from a State Department official in Washington, calling the move counterproductive to efforts to achieve a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians. Israel Radio said the step was taken in response to the kidnapping and killing of 3 Jewish teens by Hamas militants in the area in June. Tensions stoked by the incident quickly spread to Israel's border with Gaza, which is controlled by Hamas, and the two sides engaged in the 7-week war that ended on Tuesday with an Egyptian-brokered ceasefire. The notice, published yesterday by the Israeli military, gave no reason for the land appropriation decision.
If you're a caregiver for someone with schizophrenia, you do all you can to help your loved one manage the illness. Perhaps you regularly talk with doctors and therapists, spend time driving to appointments, and carefully watch for symptoms. These steps are vital to the well-being of your loved one. But don't forget to focus on his or her overall health. It's important to help your loved one live a healthy lifestyle. People with schizophrenia have a much shorter life expectancy than others, but that's not mainly due to schizophrenia itself. The majority of people with schizophrenia develop life-threatening health concerns like hypertension, diabetes, and heart disease, all of which can be prevented. People who have severe medical illnesses are known to have a reduced quality of life, reported by CNN.
And from Newsmax, despite Al Gore's prediction 7 years ago that the polar ice cap would be completely melted by now, it is actually larger than it was in 2012. The North Polar ice cap is falling off a cliff, Gore said in 2007 when he was accepting the Nobel Peace Prize for his climate change efforts. It could be completely gone in summer in as little as 7 years. 7 years from now. It is now 7 years from then. But the Mail Online newspaper, reports that the ice cap has actually expanded by between 43 and 63%, an area the size of Alaska that was navigable water just 2 years ago and is now covered by ice. Over the long term, the ice cap is continuing to shrink, according to figures from the U.S. National Snow and Ice Data Center. But as of August 25th, 3.5 million square miles of the Arctic Ocean was covered with at least 15% ice cover, the highest since 2006. The ice also is growing thicker, making it less likely to melt, according to data from the University of Illinois' Cryosphere Project.
Apple plans to turn its next iPhone into a mobile wallet through a partnership with major payment networks, banks, and retailers. This is according to a person that is familiar with the situation. The agreement includes Visa, MasterCard, and American Express and will be unveiled on September the 9th along with the next iPhone. The new iPhone will make mobile payments easier by including a near-field communication chip for the first time. That advancement, along with Touch ID, a fingerprint recognition reader that debuted on the most recent iPhone, will enable consumers to securely pay for items in a store with the touch of a finger, reported by Bloomberg.
And from AFP, I believe that agency is the Agence France Press. I think it's the French press agency, AFP, and anyway, it's AFP. Emotions connected to memories can be rewritten, making bad events in the past seem better and good things appear worse, scientists from Japan and the United States have found. The discovery of the mechanism behind the process helps to explain the power of current psychotherapeutic treatments for mental illnesses such as depression or post-traumatic stress disorder, they said, and could offer new avenues for psychiatric help. These findings validate the success of current psychotherapy by revealing its underlying mechanism, according to research leader Susumu Tonagawa in a statement made to the AFP in Tokyo. The team, formed from a collaboration between Japan's Riken Institute and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the United States, using optogenetics, a new brain control technology which utilizes light to better understand what happens when we reminisce.
As a young man, Harry Reid discovered a desert oasis not far from his Searchlight home across the border in Fort Paiute, California. Water poured out of craggy volcanic rock rock lily pads and cattails grew. That's when he became an environmentalist. Reed will put his environmentalism and power on display this Thursday when he welcomes energy and political elites to Las Vegas for the Clean Energy Summit 7.0 at Mandalay Bay, reported by the Las Vegas Sun.
And that's all the time we have for News Bites. Remember, we do this each weekday from 8:35 until 9. It's your way of catching up with the news without spending all day trying to do so. Get on with your own life and your own news. Robin, how many stories were covered today?
21 stories.
All right, it's Labor Day. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, I'm going to tell you about some job openings right here in our community. Thank you. This is WOCA Ocala, the source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Some lawmakers pressing President Obama to come up with a strategy against ISIS. Republican Mike Rogers telling Fox News Sunday
his foreign policy is an absolute freefall.
Even some in President Obama's own party think he's not doing enough. Democrat Dianne Feinstein, chair of the Senate Foreign Intelligence Committee, spoke to NBC's Meet the Press.
I've seen nothing that compares with its viciousness.
Last week, the president said the U.S. still doesn't have a strategy for Islamist State.
Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Doctors are reportedly starting to bring comedian Joan Rivers out of the medically induced coma after she went into cardiac arrest last week.
It's a process that takes a few days, and so by tomorrow, they will know fully what her condition is, what her injuries are, and what her quality of life going forward might be.
Teresa Priolo, a Fox affiliate WNYW New York. Lower temperatures have helped slow 2 wildfires in Northern California, but hundreds of homes are still threatened. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Worn-out shocks and struts make your car handle like a banana boat being towed by a super tanker. Fix that pavement pontoon now and get 4 qualifying Napa or Rancho shocks and struts for the price of 3 with a mail-in rebate offer. So stop sloshing around and conquer the job with Napa Know-How. Mail-in rebate offer for Visa prepaid card in the amount of the lowest cost unit at participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 10/31/14.
Hey guys, if you're into fantasy football, you've got to check out FanDuel.com. At FanDuel, you play in 1-week fantasy football leagues for real money with immediate cash payouts. You only play when you want, and you can change your team any week. FanDuel is paying out over $10 million every week this season. And right now, FanDuel is giving you up to $200 free. That's right. For every dollar you deposit, FanDuel will match it up to $200. Just go to FanDuel.com, click their microphone in the upper right corner, and enter code FOOTBALL22. FANDUEL.com. Code FOOTBALL.
Robin, how do you like my design?
You're designing a box?
That's not a box. It's a doghouse.
Rough draft for your rough? Sounds like you need personal service.
I do?
Yes, to print the blueprints. See Mark at the Personal Service Center. He can print blueprints, notarize permit applications, print and mail out invoices, and even provide great-looking business cards.
Personal Service Center. That's the one on the corner of Northeast 25th Avenue and 24th Street, right?
Just look for the yellow signs. Your pedigree palace will be a reality in no time.
Hey, it's Christy with Ocala Mac and PC Repair and Ocala Guest Wi-Fi to let you know we have you covered. We are the only local certified Apple and Microsoft computer company in Ocala. We are family owned and operated. From mobile repair to wireless networks, viruses, new systems, or security cameras, we do it all. Check us out online, OcalaMacPC.com, or give us a call, 352-566-8324.
Tell them Nick, Madison, or Mason sent you and get free diagnostic.
Get your internet telephone service from the company that brought affordable internet service to Ocala in the first place. All is Safe is a sister company of Ocala Guest Wi-Fi, a company you've known and trusted for all your internet needs. Whether you need a phone or hundreds, we've got the products and services to meet your needs both now and in the future. Our plans include everything from local and long-distance calling to equipment maintenance and even software upgrades. You can count on All is Safe to give you cost certainty knowing that your bill will be the same next week, next month, or even next year. Call 352-450-8647 today to learn how to cut your monthly telephone bill up to 60%.
Let's face it, nowadays it can be hard to find American-made products, and that's something that Cabinet Sales of North Florida